Hello, children. Today we will do the lesson The Happy Prince. It is from your supplementary reader meant for class 9. The Happy Prince is written by Oscar Wilde. Once a swallow who was on his way to Egypt, as it was time for winter to arrive, and in order to save himself from the chilling winter, the swallow was flying to Egypt where his friends were waiting for him. On his journey, the swallow came across a city to halt for the night, and as he was a stranger to the city, he found no place to take shelter for the night, and it was then that he found a tall statue erected on a tall column. So when he went to the statue to take shelter for the night, and was just about to sleep, it was then that he found raindrops falling on him. But he looked at the sky and found that there were no drops of rain and no clouds on the sky. It was a clear sky and he could not understand from where the drops had fallen. On close noticing, he found to his surprise that the statue under which he was taking shelter, from the eyes of the statue were falling tears. So the statue was crying. The swallow went up to the statue and asked him why he was crying. It was then that the statue told him the story of his life. It was the statue of a prince who was called Happy Prince by the people of his city. When this prince lived during his lifetime, he knew nothing about sorrows. He was always happy. The courtiers of the palace did not allow sorrow to enter into the palace, so the Happy Prince during his lifetime did not know what sorrow was, what death is, what misery is, what poverty is. But after his death, the people of his city decided to erect a tall statue of him, and it was put on a tall column. So when he was put on that tall column, the Happy Prince could see that in his city there were so many people who were so much in distress and pain. The people of his city had placed the statue of him, and it was a very expensive statue because his entire body was covered with golden leaves. There were expensive gems and sapphires that constitute the remaining part of his ornamentation. So this is what the Happy Prince told about himself to the swallow. That night, the Happy Prince was crying. Why? Because he could see that at a distance there was a seamstress who was very poor and she could not feed her child. The child was tossing from one side to the other on the bed, and the poor mother could not provide him anything to eat. The child was demanding oranges from his mother, but the poor mother could not provide him anything. It was then that the Happy Prince requested the swallow to act as his messenger and take out an expensive ruby from the sword hilt and give it to the seamstress. So, like a true friend, the swallow kept the word of the Happy Prince, and he took out the ruby from the sword hilt and flew all the distance to the seamstress's house. As he entered, he found that the seamstress had already fallen asleep on the table. She was absolutely tired and hungry, and the small child was tossing from one side of the bed to the other due to fever. It was then that the swallow kept the ruby on the table and then with his wings fanned the child, and the child fell asleep. This is how the swallow came to the rescue of the seamstress with the help of the Happy Prince. So that night, that is how the swallow acted as a true messenger for the Happy Prince. The next night, when the swallow was ready to take his flight to Egypt and he went to bid goodbye to his friend, the Happy Prince requested the swallow to stay with him for one more night because the happy prince could see at a distance that there was a young playwright who was a dramatist who wrote plays, but he was without food and he was absolutely very hungry. He was tired and had almost given up writing, and he was putting his head on the table, unable to write, and moreover, the chilling winter had also made him unable to write more. So the happy prince felt sorry for him, and it was then that he decided and told the swallow to pluck out one of his eyes, which was made of sapphire, and hand it over to the playwright. The swallow did not agree. Why? Because the swallow said to the happy prince that if he would pluck out the other eye, then he would go blind of one eye. But still, the happy prince convinced the swallow to take the sapphire. So finally, the swallow flew with the sapphire and entered into the garret, that is the small room, and placed the sapphire on the table, and then came back. As he came back, he felt quite warm and happy, even though it was very cold. Actually, he felt warm because he had done an act of charity, as the happy prince had told him so. He had been so generous and kind with somebody. So, this is how the second night went.